What is an underrated city that more people should visit? If you want the absolute best food, cheap beer and wine, and lively nights, you need to go to Lisbon. Incredibly affordable, beautiful architecture and an iconic trolley system, fado music, port wine and octopus. It's divine. I knew Lisbon would be top answer. It is such a magical place you cannot get bored of. Lived there for 6 months. I still wanna go back for more. Porto and Coimbra are also really great and definitely worth a visit. Similar atmosphere but smaller. I will back you up on Coimbra. A beautiful city with great restaurants and unlovely areas. The part around the university is stunning. Undoubtedly so. It is a rather small city, but it is beautiful. Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, is an absolutely lovely city, situated in the middle of a small but stunning country. This should be higher. What a wonderful place to spend hours walking around of having a drink by the river. Seville, Spain. Not sure if it's even underrated, but most people I know that go to Spain usually head towards Barcelona or Madrid first. But I love Seville more than Madrid and Barcelona. It has stunning architecture, great history, great food, and is slightly less touristic than the first two cities. Do they still have the tapas in Seville? My favorite thing about Madrid was the tapas. Oh yeah, they do. There are tapas bars, restaurants on every corner, and they are amazing and slightly cheaper than in Madrid. Lausanne, Switzerland. Seconded. Add Freiburg to the list too. I travel for food. So, Takayama, Japan. Lovely ryokans with hot springs. Beautiful sceneries. Beef quality the same grade with Kobe for half the price. Mexico City. Holy damn, food's so good. Fruits so fresh and cheap. Sichuan, China. Jiuzhaigao is heaven on earth. Dalat, Vietnam. Cool weather year round. Chill vibes through the city. Also the southwest of Vietnam, no fancy beaches, but good food, nice people. I'd go back to Takayama simply to take the train up there again. The Junior Takayama line is simply breathtaking. A long, winding trip up the forest mountains, over big rivers, tunnels, and enormous rice paddy valleys. Fantastic. Montreal, Canada. It's like New York had a baby with Paris. New York and Paris, the friendliest cities in the world. Montreal fits right in, then LOL. Antwerp, Belgium is lovely. I would go back anytime. If one has a choice between Antwerp and Brussels, choose Antwerp. Trust me, Ghent over both of them. My MHO came here to say this. Fantastic place. St. Petersburg, Florida. Very nice downtown. Lots of beaches. Some cool parks. And pretty cheap. Great art museums too. Brisbane, Australia. Perfect subtropical climate, so it's sunny all year. Very laid back and friendly. Good music, bars and food etc. Well worth a visit. Don't just go to Sydney and you have the Gold or Sunshine Coasts not far at all either. Street, Augustine. Tallinn, Estonia. It was never a place I would really thought about visiting until I went there. It is such a charming city. Same. We went for a tour off a cruise ship and I would love to go back. Krakow, Poland. Stunning center square with a huge barbecue. Beautiful buildings and lots of great bars and beers. Also, if you are Australian, you can visit the Mount. Our tallest mountain is named after. Yes, Mount Kosciuszko is named after Mount Kosciuszko and not Tadeusz Kosciuszko, the famous Revolutionary War hero. And then be very confused as to why someone named a mountain after a mound. Will not lie, I did not even realize that I was in the presence of such an important namesake until I was on the top of it, going, hey, that name sounds familiar. Can I visit it if I'm not Australian too? Kansas City is a beautiful city with great BBQ and pulled pork. I went there on a business trip and I think I prefer it to New York City. I love KC. It's a surprisingly modern city that still retains some of the old southern charm. Great BBQ and jazz. Saskatoon, SK, Canada. Paris of the prairies. Yes, so true. Kilkenny, Ireland. Loved going there. Spent almost a week there many years ago. How is it now? It was the coolest town. It probably hasn't changed at all in a decade or two. We only spent a day and a half, but I want to go back for longer. Porto, Portugal. Festival of Street. Joe for the win. San Juan, Puerto Rico. I fell in love with the whole island, but I still have amazing memories from my time in San Juan. The old time does not even feel real half the time. Look into sunset boat trips around the bay. Magical. If I ever wanted to settle down anywhere in the US, it would be there. I have never been a fan of the Caribbean. My first trip south of the US was Costa Rica, so I have been spoiled. I was sent to San Juan for work this summer, and it was amazing. Pandemic and all. I always thought I would snowbird in Phoenix, but I think it would be San Juan where I would actually buy property and now just nomad through the southwestern. Cartagena, Colombia. I've been twice and it is probably my favorite city in Latin America. Great beaches, great nightlife, loaded with interesting history to explore, most of which is still intact. Cartagena was invaded by practically every world power in its time, but the stories of how the Spanish always managed to hold it against impossible odds are legendary. The Naval Museum of the Caribbean is a must-see. Also, Bocanagra Beach is a very happening spot. Always something fun going on. Music, dancing, great food. Best of all, there is a remodeled pirate ship that does tours around the harbor and recounts all the tales of when Cartagena was a pirate town in the 1600s. So much to see and do in such a relatively small city. Most people overlook it when planning a Latin American adventure, but Cartagena is a must-see for anyone interested in history by day and fun times by night. New Year's Eve. Old City. All the people in white suit dresses. Party with mojitos over the wall. Try that. I feel like Taipei and Kuala Lumpur are both cities that do not get as much attention as cool tourist destinations as they should. Agreed on both counts. I'd throw in Ljubljana, Portland, Maine, Phnom Penh, Marbella, Spain, and Montevideo. Hard disagree on Phnom Penh personally, but maybe I did not see its best side. Genuinely my favorite city on earth. Asian with a heavy French influence and a breeze coming off the water. Easily my favorite city on earth. Glasgow. I remember heading to Glasgow for a 4-day trip and my sister in London could not figure out why I would go to Glasgow rather than Edinburgh. Mind you, Edinburgh is still on the list, but going to Glasgow made me realize just how underrated it is. I stayed in the Kelvin Grove area and took great advantage of the foods and sights. People were beyond friendly too. Definitely would go back, but my sister still cannot seem to comprehend what is so great about it. It's only about 45 minutes on the train from Glasgow to Edinburgh, so you can kinda do both cities in one trip. It's not a terrible idea to stay in Glasgow during the Fringe Festival and commute over. You can save a lot of money on accommodation that way. This is an American-centric post. A few years ago my wife and I did a cross-country trip from the East Coast to California and back. The year before we did a tour of New England. The only places we really have not hit are the Pacific Northwest and the South. Although I have been to the South plenty, my wife has not outside Atlanta and Orlando. The secret? You can find cool stuff everywhere. We visited something like 21 states on our trip. We stopped at big cities, small cities, tourist traps, historical markers, state parks. It is all just so cool. Even the worst places we visited were still worth visiting. The coolest places we went were New Mexico. I loved every last dry sandy inch of that state, and of all places Laramie, Wyoming. I thought I would like Colorado more than I actually did. Nothing wrong with it. I just thought driving through the mountains would be cool. And instead it was trying to navigate what felt like a terrifying roller coaster angle downward while a tractor trailer roared in front of me and a tractor trailer roared behind me for 100,000 million miles. I did not care for people's attitudes in California. It was a weird mix of laid-back disinterest and aggressive arrogance even from randos in the shops we went to. Other highlights were Brattleboro, VT Salem, MA and Salt Lake City. The Soubits were the entirety of Nebraska, which was the only place that truly lived up to the stereotypes. Hearing gospel music at a Wendy's and having to go into a gas station where the pumps still had the old-time wheels with numbers on them that clicked the prices you pumped, and when they saw my wife pump gas the guy in farmer's overalls came out running to help her. Hoof guys, get with the program. We also did not care for Rhode Island. We pretty much only drove through Providence, but everyone we did run into was a dick. Anyway, if you want an underrated city, go to any city that is not New York, LA, or Chicago. Nothing wrong with those cities. They are just properly rated. Cleveland. People make fun of it, but there is a shit ton of awesome stuff to do there. Same with Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Nashville. The list goes on. Basically, if it is a city big enough to have at least one sports team, you are probably gonna have a good time. And mid-range to small cities are amazing if you just want to discover unusual stuff. Nothing like finding a used bookstore at the county seat of the lowest populated county in the state. Pittsburgh is cool. They have the Andy Warhol Museum and that view from Mount Washington. I asked a charter flight attendant who has been working for over 30 years which city was her favorite. Point blank and without hesitation, she said Grand Rapids, Michigan. Sardinia, Italy. Italy is our next trip when it is safe. Would love to hear what you loved. You will have an amazing time. You are spoiled for choice everywhere with food, culture, art, history. It is one of my favorite places. I have been more times than I can count. You will never go wrong with the big cities. Amalfi Coast, Florence. Actually the entire Tuscany region is pretty fantastic. Rome, Cinque Terre, Venice. I would definitely put the south of Italy on your list. Personally overrated sites are Leaning Tower of Pisa, Juliet's house in Verona. Outside of all the tourist sites you will see, just walking the streets you will discover some amazing things. I'm not sure what it will be like post-COVID, but Venice you can grab some takeaway cocktails from a local bar, sit in the square in front of St. Mark's Basilica, and listen to the live music the local restaurants play. Try find the good local restaurants to eat. The usual provide better service and atmosphere. Definitely Cinque Terre and Lucca. Florence is a must, but I'd say Naples and Amalfi too. And above all Sicily. We've done the whole of Italy in 3 big road trips and lost our hearts to that country. I really like Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Great art museum, antique vintage stores, hip restaurants and stores, and then there's the cute public market. Wisconsin in general is extremely underrated. The Dells in the summer is such a blast with all the lakes they have up there. I got caught in traffic in Wisconsin on a cross-country drive. The tourism ads for the Wisconsin Dells makes me never want to visit. It is the indoor water park capital of the world. So come on down with the family to the Wisconsin Dells. Oh, it is 100% a cheesy tourist trap family vacation. But it is fun and the way cruises are fun. Sometimes you want an easy vacation of sitting by the pool, drinking, and easy entertainment. Boise, Idaho. It is not like in my top 10 cities or anything, but in terms of underrated I visited once in my early 20s and was surprised at how much fun I had bar club hopping at night. Boise has exploded in the past few years. I visited last year right before the pandemic, and I was blown away at how much it had grown. Downtown Boise feels an awful lot like Portland with a lot less homeless people too. It's a really neat place for sure. Wow, not surprised. That's sorta the vibe I got about a decade ago. Seemed like it would have been a really chill place to live. Good mix of city and nature. Fort Worth. Overshadowed by Dallas. It is a nice small big city with cowboy charm. Good restaurants, nice parks and a great zoo. I saw an orangutan pass into another orangutan's mouth at the Fort Worth Zoo when I was 9. Cincinnati, Ohio is a lot of fun. The riverfront is stunning. And there's a bunch to do and explore. Agreed. My hometown. Buffalo, New York. Everyone only thinks of the falls, but there's a lot to do here like Canal Side in the summer. Many places for wings. A lot of hiking around the area. Incredibly cheap hockey tickets because their team is garbage, so if you want to see your team play away, not a bad city to go to. Plus bars are open until 4 AM and the air smells like Lucky Charms some nights due to the General Mills factory on the water. Lots of great architecture in the area too. Buffalo used to be the 6th largest city in America by population and a lot of money flowed into here at one point. Many buildings and residential homes in the area are wonderful to see and tour inside. Portland, Maine. It is such a beautiful place. Now you remaking me miss Portland. Honestly, a lot of those coastal port cities I miss, like Portsmouth, Newport, Annapolis, and New London are fun. Naha, Japan. Was expecting it to be an unsightly sprawl only useful as a staging point. Turns out it is actually one of the best cities in the country. Same could be said, to a somewhat lesser extent, for Nagano and Sendai. Philadelphia never gets any love. Great urban design, many sights to see, art museums, and a river walk that goes for miles. I love it. Philly is such an amazing city to visit, and the nightlife is killer too. So many really cool bars, and after you are done drinking for the night, hit the water for a hoagie. Gdansk, Poland, Bratislava, Slovakia, Cardiff, Wales. I've been to Bratislava a couple times and highly recommend it. It's way cheaper than a lot of cities, and still maintains the charm and old school looks of other European cities. It's also really walkable. I've been fortunate to really travel the US. The only state I have not been to is West Virginia for some reason, so I cannot speak to that. Most of the places I have been in the US have something to like about them. A little something special that shows we are so much more than our government and institutions. I genuinely believe that the vast majority of Americans are trying really hard to make this a good place in their own way. The exception is for anywhere I have been in Arkansas. Like, maybe there is some gem there I'm missing. But no matter how open-minded about them I have come away wanting to get back west of the Front Range post haste. West Virginia is actually a really beautiful state, which I do not think people outside Appalachia would expect. It is basically all mountains. Oh yes, I thought it was beautiful when I visited. Most people I spoke to were dismissive of the state, but I suppose going with fresh eyes and not being aware of other issues helped it look a lot better. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.